I'm addicted to going on to YouTube Live. That's my addiction.
Me too. Luckily, we're both here.
Yeah, what's happening, everybody? Thanks so much for tuning in. We're talking about addiction, vice, which is ultimately plaguing men and women all across the world. It's actually become so normalized. I mean, what are some of the normal addictions now in the world, in your perspective? Definitely, I see.
Alcohol.
Yeah, alcohol. That's got to be one of the most normalized addictions.
Yeah.
It's almost weird when you go somewhere and you're like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna have a drink." And people almost look at you funny, right? Like, "You're not gonna have a drink? Is something okay? You know, are you
Yeah.
all right?"
You're not gonna take
Like,
some poison with us? Oh
yeah,
my goodness,
yeah.
what's wrong with you?
Yeah. Why aren't you poisoning yourself with us?
Yeah.
Right. Right. So, alcohol is definitely one. I would say, at least here in Canada, marijuana has become a total normalized addiction.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think
Although,
that might
yeah.
be in different parts of the world. It might be a
No,
bit
I
different.
mean, I'd agree. It's not legalized in every part, but still, even amongst the people, it's like one of the drugs that's, yeah, in some cultures just completely normalized, as seen as a good thing, natural. It grows on the earth, and it's a good thing and things like that.
Yeah. So definitely alcohol, marijuana.
And cigarettes go with that as well. It's
Yeah.
actually not as
I'd say
normal anymore.
cigarettes has
People are
come
quitting
down though.
cigarettes, yeah,
Yeah.
but they got the vapes now instead.
Yeah,
But
they changed it for vapes. I vape now, right? Which
I,
has been
I don't
shown
smoke
to be,
cigarettes.
yeah,
Vapes.
that's right. Yeah. Which has been shown to be just as detrimental. All these teenagers who are vaping and now have lung issues and stuff, and
Mm.
but hey, it's not our bad habits that are creating all of our lung issues. It's all of these sicknesses that are going around, right?
Yeah.
And what else? I would say social media. That's become a normalized addiction. Addicted to our
Sugar.
phone, sugar. Yeah, I was at the gym yesterday, and I was just I when I'm at the gym, I keep my phone in the locker so that I'm not distracted when I'm on my workout. Only when I get on the treadmill after, because I listen to some audio,
Mm.
do I then take out my phone. So I keep the phone in the locker on purpose.
Mm.
And I was just looking around the gym and just counting, and I would say 90 to 95% of the gym
Yeah.
during their sets, like after they do
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever they're doing, they go immediately to their phone, whether
Yeah.
it's
In
to take a
between reps.
selfie or to
It's just,
to message someone. And it was just like, and I've been practicing like extreme self-awareness over the last few days. So now, of course, I'm heightened to what's going on, and I'm just like, oh
yeah.
my
Yeah.
gosh, this is like I'm feeling like I'm living in a zombie apocalypse here.
And people don't know what to do with their minds when they're just on their own. So,
Yeah.
if they're bored or they just, as you say, not fully present, in the gym, you should be present on your workout. But it's like, oh, I do my reps and now I'm back on Instagram. I do my reps. But it's almost like, I can't wait to finish these reps because I can look at my phone again. It's like,
Yeah.
what are you there for, man? You could do that at home, basically, like look at your phone.
Yeah. And I noticed, yeah, it's a good point of not knowing what to do with our minds. So therefore, and there's that quick dopamine. Maybe I'll get another
What are you gonna
like,
do?
or
Just sit in the
yeah,
gym in between your sets and be like, just existing. Like, oh, what
yeah.
should I do?
That's what I do. I actually like sit there and I just like put my hand in the focus mudra and put it on my knee and just try to exist in between my sets. And then essentially, like, but that's why I've developed a lot of friendships now at the gym. I know a lot of the people now at the gym and say what's up, because I'm not on my phone, so I can make connections. I can create eye contact.
Well,
Give
luckily
the
they
old
saw you from, they looked up from their phone for a minute and
not
saw you.
everyone. Yeah. Not everyone. Yeah. I feel like yeah, not everyone, of course. But so yeah, definitely social media. Sugar for sure. That's just become a normal addiction. Everybody drives through Starbucks, get their mocha choca loca or whatever it is, and just white sugar, processed sugar. So addiction has become so normalized in this age of convenience, this age of instant gratification. And what we don't realize is how it is detrimental to our mental health, our physical health, and then obviously our spiritual health as well. So, we're going to be talking in this episode. We're going to give you some techniques so that you can deal with addiction head on, whatever vices you've got. I really encourage you to go down the battle of facing it. It's tough. I'm very open that I've had marijuana addiction. That's probably been my biggest vice over the world. And it's funny in my life, in And it's funny because when I cut that, everything else is fine. Like I don't like sugar goes, almost everything goes. So it's like, it's just like a kind of a root addiction. When I cut it, everything else goes. And it's really, and then it's really great. And obviously the results in my life just exponentially start growing, right? Like I earn more money. My relationships are better. I'm more self-controlled, both in and outside the bedroom. I am on task, on point. I also notice I begin to talk less. It's an interesting notice. I just talk less because my nervous system isn't as active. So I'm more living in silence, which I know like yogis practice, right? Mahatma Gandhi was famous for, I think it was every Monday or one day of the week, he used to practice no verbal communication.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
if you
it's
went to
sense
see him,
control. The
yeah,
tongue, controlling the tongue, not only with eating, but with speaking as well. You should know when not to speak.
yeah. So it's really quite amazing, as we continue to get more and more self-controlled, how you recognize how much of your energy is also being dismantled or dissipated into lots of useless things. And I know Srila Prabhupada gave the example of the frog who was croaking all the time.
Yeah.
Right, sitting there happily croaking, not realizing he's calling the snake towards him.
Yeah.
So he's like ignorantly just talking shit. Basically, you just see this frog just
Just for no reason making noises.
Yeah, just making noises without purpose. And then and the snake is like, oh, is that where you're at? Perfect. So basically calling death towards him. And we're very much the same in our idle conversations and in the way that we speak and carry out. So this is going to be a very important lessons and techniques that you guys can use. What's up, Giselle? Just want to say what's up. Thanks so much. Good morning to you. Appreciate everything that our friendship and connection, and as well as, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right. How would you say the first name?
Tuku. I would Tuku, but it might not be right.
Can you put the phonetical spelling of your name? We'd love to get that right. Mohammed Talsim. Say hello, no fap challenge to Indonesia. What's up, Indonesia? Thanks so much.
Stop fapping, Indonesia.
Yeah, no fapping in Indonesia. Awesome. All right, let's play our opening track and let's get into these techniques.
Soldiers retain. Real strong men are self-control. Their info is plain. If you don't know, feel that energy flow right into your brain. Your whole game will change. Soldiers retain. Soldiers retain. Soldiers retain. Real strong men are self-control. Their info is plain. If you don't know, feel that energy flow right into your brain. Your whole game will change. Soldiers retain. Soldiers retain.
Yeah, semen retention soldiers. Those men who are endeavoring, who are pursuing self-mastery, self-realization, and then ultimately God realization, because they go hand in hand. This is the place for you. Of course, everybody here is welcome. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what your political views are. It doesn't matter how you identify. This place is open for anybody and everybody who wants to become self-realized and ultimately know deeper and deeper aspects of themselves and truths about life. And you cannot attain spiritual realization while being addicted. You cannot attain financial freedom and be addicted. I remember I was listening to one personal development guru trainer, and he was talking about finances, and he helps people in their finances and live financially abundant life. And he said 100% of the people he went to that had financial issues also had addiction in their home. 100%. I mean, that's a huge stat. Like, huge. He said every person that he went to that was like, I'm struggling my finances, he would go through their financial statements, he would go through their house, and every single one of them, he said, he would put away the financial books, and he says, don't even talk to me about finances until you are vice and addiction free. And so there's a huge warning sign for us. Relationship issues. 56% of married couples that have got divorced 56% of divorces that are happening, at least one of the partners has or an addictive or obsessive relationship with pornography.
That's we didn't mention that in the list earlier, but
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the main one that we deal with with people. That's what we help people with. This is a very normalized one.
Yeah. Everybody thinks it's normal. They said they did stats in middle schools and high schools about pornography watch, and most accept pornography as normal now. So, and of course, that's not all over the world. That's just in certain countries more than others.
But I think it's getting bigger everywhere in the places where it wasn't before. And it's similar to alcohol. It's like when they say, you're not going to drink. It's like when you go, don't watch porn. Like, come on, everyone watches porn. Come on, you don't watch porn. Come on. It's like everyone accepts it. It's like, this is fine,
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, man. It's weird.
It totally is, man. It totally is. So obviously we've got lots of work to do. But here, let's talk about, first of all, some of the truths around addiction. And then we're going to get into these techniques for you guys. So the first is that culturally, addiction is essentially become so normalized that it's almost weird not to be addicted now. And because most of us unconsciously are so driven by social acceptance, we also just look at our environment and accept that as normal. And if everybody else is drinking, then I must drink too. If everybody else is watching porn, then I must do that too. If everybody else is fat,
the values of an insane world.
Everybody, exactly. You're accepting the values of people who aren't successful, people who are sick, people who are depressed, people who are full of anxiety. So you have to always go to the principle of, when you buy into someone's belief system or opinion, you buy into their lifestyle. So you have to get brutally honest and say, do they have the life that I want? Right? Do they have the success that I want? Do they have the peace that I want? Do they have the relationship that I want? Do they have the health that I want? When you buy into people's opinions, you buy into their lifestyle. And that's why you want to curate your world, meaning you want to protect your mind. You want to be very conscious about who you're listening to and whose opinions you're buying into. Because when you buy into your broke uncle's opinion about finances, you're essentially going to get your broke uncle's lifestyle. When your addicted friend tells you this is normal and it's cool, then you're going to get the addiction of your friend. When your other friend, has been divorced 10 times and has, a hackenship, and you buy into their way of being and their opinion, then that's what you get. So you want to be very conscious about who you're buying into.
Yeah, and don't be an illusion about it, If you're gonna do those things, know that what it is. Like we were saying before we started filming, don't lie to yourself and say, nah, this is a good thing, this is cool, this is gonna help. It's like, at least be aware, so then you can decide, okay, maybe tonight I will join my friends to smoke or drink, but I'm not gonna make out like it's some like good thing for me. I'm just, I'm choosing. But don't, at least be honest, if you're going to do it, what it is. Don't lie to yourself and be like, this is a really good thing for me, it's going to probably help me in my life. Like, this is how people convince themselves, just like, be conscious about it. If you're going to do it, then do it, but be aware of what it is. Don't lie and pretend it's something else.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You got to be brutally honest with yourself. And often we tell ourselves these little white lies, these justifications, these excuses, but ultimately that disempowers us. And, the truth will set you free. And that truth that we're speaking of could be very basic material truths. The truth is, marijuana is not good for you. So just say it's not good for you. Stop justifying it. Alcohol is not good for you. Say it's not good for you. Don't justify it, right? Pornography is not good for you. Just say so. This level of truth will then begin to set you free of these vices and bring you to a space where you could at least be honest with it. And when you're honest with it, then you can improve it. But if you continue to live in this delusion and illusion of justification and excuses, then ultimately you are doing yourself a massive disservice. And the other little aspect of the dark truth of addiction is that your leaders are pushing it on you. And there are people in this world who aspire to dominance, world power. You know, they're like, you know, dictator type personalities, very psychopathic people. And, you know, unfortunately, because of their ambition and their desires, and many of them are actually clean. That's the funny part, right? You know, they're pushing it on to people. Right here in Canada, they legalized marijuana. Personally, I don't think that was a good idea. I always question, why is the government in the business of dealing drugs? If the government is supposed to protect its people, why is the government dealing drugs? Why is the government, you know, here we have government alcohol in the province of New Brunswick I live in Canada. The government sells alcohol and the government sells marijuana. So the very government that's supposed to be leading us, protecting us, enhancing our lives, or setting at least an example, they're the same governments that are now selling us the drugs, selling us the alcohol. It's insanity, in my opinion.
Not to mention the illegal ones. The same thing is happening anyway. They just are technically illegal, but they're somehow the drugs are everywhere still.
Yeah, opioids.
Yeah.
I would say Canada has a massive opioid problem. People are dying of opioid overdose and addiction. And yet there has been no pandemic called. There's been no massive news media and nothing. Why? Because pharmaceuticals essentially run the show here. They're the largest lobbyist group in the world. There's nobody calling your leaders and political leaders more than the pharmaceutical companies right now. And that's a serious problem.
That's another thing people are addicted to, just normal medicine, like painkillers and stuff like that.
Yeah, just pop an Advil, pop of this, pop of that, right? So we have to understand that there are people benefiting and profiting off of your addiction. There are people that are becoming massively rich because you're addicted. And nations are essentially exploiting their people instead of protecting them because it's easier. Here's the deal. If I want to rule the world, if I want to rule the nation and everybody else is addicted and I'm not, guess what? I can easily exploit you. I can easily take over because you won't have the brains, the motivation, the insight, the conscious. You won't have the tools to even be able to stop me. So it is important that we understand and start to protect ourselves and stop giving so much power to governments and to leaders and to authorities, but become self-realized and become a great authority within ourselves. The ultimate authority lives within you, and that is God himself. And if we take to this path of self-realization, if we take to this path of God consciousness, it frees you from the authorities of the pharmaceuticals and these governments and these people who are trying to put themselves in the God position. And it frees us. That's why they hate religion the most. You look at any type of communist or dictator nation, one of the first things they do is stifle the religions of the day because they don't want people thinking that they have an authority that is not them. So it is a tricky game. It's a slippery slope. But through this path of God realization, through this path of self-realization, you can free yourselves not just of addiction, but also of the delusions and illusions of the world and truly live a happy life, truly live a blessed life, truly live an abundant life. But it's going to take some work to recondition or uncondition yourself from everything you've been taught. And that's exactly what we're doing through this sexual alchemy process that we teach. The entire course is set up to uncondition you, essentially. I mean, at the very core of the course, it is designed to make you more and more self-aware of the subtle conditioning that's been placed upon you so that you can break free of it. So one of the techniques, and let's get into it, that we talk about to get rid of addiction and vice is the 6 healing sounds, which is when you join the sexual alchemy training, this is the first routine that you're going to learn is called the 6 healing sounds. And this is one of the movements out of the routine. So addiction lives in your stomach, anxiety, anxiousness, obsessiveness. Think about when you're like really, nervous about something or anxious. Where do you feel it? In your stomach. Yeah.
People have digestive issues and all kinds of things there due to anxiety.
Totally. You look at somebody who has a lot of anxiety, and generally they'll have stomach ulcers, digestive issues. All of these problems end up showing up because there's so much stress and negative energy being built up in that place in the body.
Think about just when you're nervous anyway, like that's where the nerves go, isn't it? Suddenly the bowel movements, things in that area, whenever there's intense anxiety, you feel it there, you know.
That's exactly it. So one of the first things that we can do, a very simple thing, is you can just take your hands and just start to massage. You could just simply start to massage the stomach area out. Now, the less body fat you carry, I'm talking to all those dad bods out there, you need to want to get rid of that, because all of that, the worst body fat is the body fat around your stomach, because that body fat is actually stifling your whole digestive system, reproductive system. So you want to make sure that you're eating well and getting to the gym, but just simply by massaging this area out. And you could do this if you find that you're addicted a lot, you have a lot of addiction and vice. Each morning when you get up, just simply start to massage your body out. Massage your stomach out, which relaxes that area. It will help with anxiety and all of these type of problems. Then, of course, we're going to stand to do this. You can do this sitting as well. I want you to place one hand right where the ribs open, right here. All right, we're going to be pushing in right there. And then the left hand is going to go under the left rib. And you're going to push in here to really massage, and don't be afraid to really push in and get under there. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a deep breath in, and you're going to use your mind to imagine yellow light, yellow vapor, to give your mind an exercise, to bring intention and awareness. You're going to breathe in yellow light, yellow vapor all into this area. So you're breathing in. Then you're placing your right hand right where the ribs open, your left hand underneath the left rib. You're going to push in, and then you're going to blow out that yellow smoke, and you're going to make the sound ho, like think Santa Claus, ho, ho, ho. And it's going to go like this. All right, we'll do it one more time to show you, and then we're going to add another element to it. So we're breathing in yellow light, yellow vapor into the stomach area. Right hand right where the ribs split open, left hand underneath the left rib, and we're blowing out. And now we're going to do it where when you're about 10% left of that sound, you're going to like right about 10% breath left. You're going to like toss that anxiety, that addiction out, and you're making the intention. So intention and attention go hand in hand. So first we're bringing attention to our addiction, then we're bringing intention to get rid of that addiction, and we're blowing it out through our mouth. And so we're going to do this a few times. So breathing in, yellow light, yellow vapors. And you're tossing that bitch out. Get
addiction, bitch.
Yeah, get out of here. All right. So then you're breathing it in. All right. And one more time. Yeah. Let us know how you feel in the comments or in the chat if you're here with us live. By the way, thanks for everybody who's here live. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, all that kind of good stuff. These are important conversations that we need everybody's help. And, you know, I'll give you another little secret to helping people. That's why, like in the Sexual Alchemy, when you join our program, you get placed into our WhatsApp group. And our WhatsApp group for our students is there for the power of association and to support each other. Whatever you want in life, give to others. You want more financial abundance? Start setting up opportunities for others to have financial abundance. You want to live addiction-free? Start helping other guys live addiction-free. Don't wait till you're perfect. Don't feel like, oh, I have to wait. No, that's not how the world works. Whatever you give, you get. You want to have great relationships, then start to be great in your relationship, right? Whatever you want in life, start giving it away, and naturally it starts to flood into your life in abundance. Cool. All right, so that is one of the 6 healing sounds in which we teach. Reach out to me, send me a message if you're interested. We're going to be running a Black Friday sale. There is no better time financially to join the Semen Retention Army and the Sexual Alchemy program than right now, because we're going to be running a massive 70% discount on the registration. Okay, so this is the best in all of the year. Right now is the best time to join, because financially it's going to be the easiest to access. So if you're serious about doing these trainings and getting to be addiction free and getting to be a powerhouse man, then now is the time. Send me a message. And of course, you could take the free ejaculation control guide as well to get started. I'm going to toss it over to Captain Jake, who's going to show us a tapping technique and some affirmations that we can use to support us in our addiction-free life.
Yeah. So just before I start that, I was just thinking when we were doing the healing sounds, probably my biggest addiction has been like addiction to cleanliness and OCD and things like this, like obsessiveness. But what I've learned to do is to use that obsessive tendency, or if you have an addictive personality, to use it for something positive instead, you know, like basically my mind is obsessed with details, and that can be unhealthy if I'm overly, I should wash my hands, I should clean that thing too much when it's unnecessary. But the obsession on details can be good if I'm learning something, if I'm writing a song, and, you know, you can channel it. So it's about admitting who you are, understanding your own nature and channeling that into positive things instead of letting it control you. And, you know, there's nothing wrong really with having an addictive mind as such. It just means that you're conscious of details, you're driven, you know. You can use that in a good way, but we don't know how, so we just end up being used by it, you know. But you can just convert that same tendency into be addicted to your work, you know, be addicted to your and imagine how much better you could do putting all that energy you put into your addiction into something positive.
We were talking about Kanye West before we jumped on here and we went live, and talking about how he was very open and honest about his pornography addiction. I think you were saying in the documentaries, even he's buying porn mags and stuff like that, right? And how he poured that into his music. And I think that's that idea of being very honest about where you're at and who you are. You know, the Bible says, know thyself. That's like, you know, one of the pinnacle teachings. And then not hating yourself because of it, not being like, I wish I was different. Don't wish you were different. Recognize that nature set you up with some advantages. If you have an addictive personality, that could be the greatest advantage you have in this life. But if you hate yourself because you're misusing it, then that's not anybody's fault but your own, right? And you have to take 100% responsibility. So as much as we can say the culture and the governments or leaders are tossing this on us, we can rise above all of that by taking 100% responsibility and using it to our advantage.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to show you some EFT tapping now, and we've done it a bit over the weeks. And every time I have to say it's a bit of a crash course because there's a few things to learn. But if you want to know more about EFT, you can look it up or contact me. I can show you more, do an introductory session. It stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's also called tapping because we tap on acupressure points. It's based on the ancient Chinese tradition of acupuncture. So there's these meridian channels in the body, and we tap on the end points of those channels, and it releases stress and it basically cleanses your energy system. But what's really powerful is when we combine it with modern psychology and affirmations and statements, actually negates the negative energy and releases it as we're talking. So for addictions, we'll do a very, very quick one. As Nakula was saying, the first thing you have to do is admit and accept you have an addiction, or wherever you're at, you have to be honest, because then you can change it. If you're in denial about it, then nothing's going to change, and it's actually very powerful. So we tap on the side of the hand. We call it the karate chop point. And we do, this. You can do it on either hand, whichever one. Some people do it on both. They go a bit far. For me, it's a bit much. But you can just tap on one. And we're just going to do the setup statement. So this is where we admit and accept the issue. And I'll speak, and if you can repeat, Nakula, or anyone watching if they want to try. And whatever your addiction or or craving or habit that you want to drop is, think of that when you say it. It's going to be a very quick example. So we're going to say, even though I have this addiction,
even though I have this addiction,
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Even though I have this addiction,
even though I have this addiction,
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Even though I have this addiction,
even though I have this addiction,
this habit that I want to drop,
this habit that I want to drop,
I choose to admit it.
I choose to admit it.
And I choose to clear it as much as I can right now.
And I choose to clear it as much as I can right now.
Loving and accepting myself.
Loving and accepting myself.
Okay, we're going to go to some other points. We'll actually just do 2 rounds, but it'll be quick. Starting with the eyebrow point. Just try and tap along if you can. Then we're going to say this addiction.
This addiction.
Side of the eye, this addiction.
This addiction.
Under the eye. Is affecting my life.
Is affecting my life.
I admit it.
I admit it.
Under the mouth. I have a problem.
I have a problem.
Collarbone, and I need to change it.
And I need to change it.
Under the arm. Allowing myself the freedom to change it now.
Allowing the freedom to change it now.
Top of the head. This addiction.
This addiction.
Letting it go.
Letting it go.
As much as I can right now.
As much as I can right now.
Clearing it from every cell in my body.
Clearing it from every cell in my body.
Letting it go.
Letting it go.
Clearing it back to any time in my life.
Clearing it back to any time in my life.
Where I thought I needed this addiction.
Where I thought I needed this addiction.
Freeing myself from this addiction.
Freeing myself from this addiction.
And last one, top of the head. Clearing it out.
Clearing it out.
Letting it go.
Letting it go.
With love and acceptance.
With love and acceptance.
And then we take a deep breath. And hopefully we should already feel something. If anything, the tapping on those points just makes you feel more relaxed and clear, and you will release as much as you can right now, as I said. And what should happen is the subconscious will probably send up the next thing to work on. So like, you know, whatever comes up for you during the tapping, that's what we would work on next if we were to do a session, because the more you clear, the layers come up of, oh, where's this coming from? And so yeah, if you want to know more, anyone wants to know more about EFT, we might do a workship at some point, but it's very powerful for addictions. I mean, people have given up addictions in one session just from tapping, because it's as with all the stuff we talk about, it's just some energy stored somewhere in the body, some pattern, some habit, and you can just clear it. And it's very useful for addictions.
Yeah, man, very powerful stuff. And I feel already good, like just by doing it. And it's funny because I was feeling good already, but doing that, I would feel even better.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes unconsciously, we're not aware of things that are going on with us, because that's why it's called unconscious. We're not conscious of it. The more we practice self-awareness, the more things come into our consciousness. But we all have, we're all here in this human form to work out these things that we have. And that's why it's like, in my opinion, it's crazy to demonize us or others, or it's like literally why we're here is to grow and to work out on these things. So, you know, it's like someone coming to school and then saying, well, you're stupid, you don't know anything about the subject. Hey, come to my carpentry school. And then you come to carpentry school and the teacher's like, why don't you know anything about carpentry? You're like, well, because I'm here to learn about carpentry, right? So at the same time, we're here in this human form of life to learn about these higher consciousness and higher aspects of life. So there's no point of being negative, or there's no point of demonizing or putting yourself or others down, but simply taking on a spirit of let's get better, let's grow, let's learn. And if we can adopt that student mindset, right? Take that kind of humble approach, that student mindset, and say, I'm here to learn. I'm here to get better. then naturally what you do is begin to shift your identity. And this is the last thing that I want to, share about living addiction and ultimately transcending addiction, like so that you live addiction free, you live vice free. And that's a whole nother level of freedom. I was part of the freedom movement and in a way still am, just in a different capacity here in Canada. And what I noticed is that many of us were fighting for, let's say, political freedom, but recognizing, like I recognize, well, there's no political freedom until there's internal freedom. We can't have an addicted society. We can't have an obese society, an unhealthy society, and then speak about freedom, because we ourselves are not free, right? So what freedom are you speaking of? Right. So it's kind of a little bit backwards in that sense, and that's why I'm focused on what we're doing here, because this is a much more this is an actual solution. And I also recognize it's not as sexy though, right? It's easier to be mad and be out on the streets and doing these things. However,
it's because so you can feel better about people without having to better yourself.
That's right. Yeah, but the reality is we have to. Mahatma Gandhi, as an example, freed India, or is contributed as to free India, right? Mm-hmm. But one of the things that we can take from his example is that he was the change he wanted to see in the world to certain extents. I mean, I don't know the dude personally, but right. But from what we can tell, it was very clear that he was a very powerful individual in himself. I think last week I told the story about the sugar, all right, the sugar where, a woman came to him to go, help my son give up sugar, help my son give up sugar. And he looks at the son and says, come back to me in 1 week. So they come back in 1 week. And then he says, all he said to the son was, stop eating sugar. And the son said, okay, and stopped eating sugar. And the mother was all upset. Well, you could have just told us there last week. We're very poor. Why do we have to make this travel? Why do we have to wait a whole week for you just to say stop eating sugar? And Gandhi's answer was, because last week I was still eating sugar. So I haven't ate sugar this week. Now I can tell him not to eat sugar. I had to give it up myself before I could tell you. I had to free myself, we could say, before I could free others. So there's no point of going out there and talking freedom when you yourself are not free.
Yeah.
Cool. Changing your identity. Building a new self-image. Your actions give you the results of your life. So whatever actions you're doing, that's going to give you the results. So if you're looking at your relationship, if you're looking at your health, if you're looking at your bank account, if you're looking at your own spiritual life, whatever aspects of life you're looking at, whatever actions you've taken is giving you those results. Action, reaction, right? Call it karma, call it reap what you sow. I don't care what language you give it. It's a very simple principle. I think it was Newton's third law or something like that, right? For every action, there's an equal and equivalent reaction, all right? This has been taught about. This is in the Bhagavad Gita. This is in the Bible. This is in so many. This is nothing very enlightening, actually. It's quite basic. But once we realize the truth of this, then we can look at our life and simply take responsibility and say, well, it's obviously I'm responsible, and stop blaming. To take new actions, we have to realize, where do our actions come from? Our actions are actually a result as well. They're not the beginning point. So many people say, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? Well, the first thing actually is to shift your identity or your mindset. Your mindset or your identity is creating the actions. So what we encourage you to do is to picture yourself, who you're being as an addicted, free person. So don't bring much attention to your addiction, but bring more attention to who you're becoming. It's what I'm calling a powerhouse man, someone who's powerful. And powerful doesn't mean that you're president or prime minister or CEO necessarily. You can achieve those things, but those will be results of actions you take. Powerful means, the literal definition of power means the ability to do. So increase your ability by imagining yourself or building a self-image through the faculty of imagination as a powerful man, as a powerful person. And a powerful person is not an addicted person. You will never see a powerful person, truly powerful. Yes, there are men who become, we have many of our politicians are addicted to things, but that's because our general society is addicted. So the general society cannot see that this is not actually a powerful person and shouldn't be in that position, right? So as we truly attain power, which is the ability to do, and we build and cultivate a new self-image, then naturally the actions that take away our power will slowly, and sometimes quickly, depending how quick you do this, drop off. They'll just like fall off. Like think of a leaf that kind of dies off. It dries up and it just falls off. That's a little bit like what it's like. It just falls off. It's just like, I just don't want that anymore.
But you have to be really convinced about your new identity. I've experienced it myself in trying to make changes. If you're not really committed to the new identity, then the old tendencies will take up. Well, firstly, if you haven't admitted, as we spoke about earlier, where you're at, the old tendencies, that you have some addictions or whatever. If you haven't admitted that, then it's on your blind side. So you have to admit it. And then you have to, create a new identity of who you really want to be. But you have to like really feel that you are that, and really, really go for it. Because, otherwise they'll creep back in those old ways.
Absolutely. And that's why we have to become inward directed people, whether you want to call that spiritual or whatever name you want to give it. You ultimately want to collapse your consciousness, your awareness within yourself, and practice high levels of self-awareness. And the more that you live in self-awareness, if you make your meditation, we'll call it self-awareness, just being aware of yourself and being aware of the actual self. So being aware of your own awareness, right?
Yeah. Then you'll notice when these things come up, they won't just take over you, because decisions are based on identity as well. So it's how thoughts work. It's quite complex, but something will come up, the mind will react, your intelligence will give you options, and you will choose based on your identity. So the more self-realized you are, the more aware you are of yourself, you'll have more options and intelligence, and you'll also be able to observe your mind and choose, make a choice based on who you want to be, not just because your mind takes over you. So you have to really be quite aware, be quite self-aware.
And awareness takes sadhana. Sadhana means practice, some kind of practice that you do on a daily basis to cultivate self-awareness. It's like a muscle that you have to train. And so that's what we're here to do. The entire Sexual Alchemy program is at its root designed to make you more and more self-aware of your subtle thoughts, your subtle energies, your body. And that way you're coming from a place of awareness, and then you can rearrange the way that it's set up. You can rearrange the energies in your body. You can re-alchemize yourself. And you'll recognize that once you control your sexual energy, you could control every other aspect of your life quite easily. And that's why this is a root practice. So I really encourage you to reach out to me. Again, we're going to be running a Black Friday sale. So November 25th, 70% off of the registration price. So from $1,000 to $300 one day only. This is the best time to join the program from a financial perspective. And not only are you going to get the entire training program for life, so you can master these techniques, you also get the support group and the entire community of the Semen Retention Army and the sexual alchemists all over the world who are building these practices, like myself and Jake and so many men who have joined us over the last few years. Over the last few years, we've had just over 100 men join the Sexual Alchemy program. We've had over 1,400 men come inside the Nakula training school, and the Army as a whole taking advantage of these courses. You get to access this community of dedicated men who are bettering themselves. So practical exercises, meditations, and practices that are going to help you develop in self-awareness so that you can recreate your life and your thought patterns and therefore your actions and results in the way that you choose, plus a community of men who are going to hold you up and support you so that you are constantly being surrounded by not the masses, but by those men who are breaking free from the masses and designing life as they choose. So if that sounds like something you want to be part of, make sure that you reach out to me or you reach out to Captain Jake and you connect with us. You got any final words for this week?
I just want to say, yeah, if anyone has got some addiction issues, get real about it, and then, you know, contact us for the course, or look into some EFT, or contact me about that, or, you know, join a local recovery thing. Those fellowships are really good. Just talk to someone. Like, you take the power away from it when you really admit it. But I mean, if you've been inspired by us talking about it, you might as well, you know, come to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
and yeah,
because it can work for everything, not just porn, but whatever you're going through, like this energy stuff and self-awareness, like Nakula says, will just affect every part of your life. And then you won't feel so, like, you'll feel stronger than your environment. So it won't be, when you're stronger in your identity, you won't have that thing where you go and meet your old friends and they're like, come on, man, let's get high. And you're like, yeah, this is who I am, man. That's where I'm from, actually. Yeah. And then next day you're like, oh man, why? I said I wasn't going to do that. Or, you know, your friends are drinking and you're like, oh, I've got to do it. It's social. You know, you'll just be like, nah, I'm all right. Or you just won't go and you won't feel bad about it. You'll just be strong and fixed in your identity. You won't be so influenced anymore. So yeah,
I
do
love
that
it,
self-work.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you guys next week, every single 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll take it from there. Peace.
Soldiers retain. Real strong men are self-control. Their info is plain. If you don't know, feel that energy flow right into your brain. Your whole game will change. Soldiers retain. Soldiers retain. Soldiers.